Ladies and gentlemen, sports fans alike, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago, one of the couple, two, three best podcasts around. So sit back, grab yourself a cold one and a Polish sausage, park your keister in the French room, and listen to Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago.
In Chicago, you know that all sports rock. The Bears, Hawks, Bulls, Cubs, and Sox. Pick your favorite, you can choose, as long as the Packers lose. For everything you need to know, it's Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. This is your hosts Alex and Sean. On this episode, we are going to be talking a whole lot of Bears to catch up what we've missed out on. We'll dabble in some baseball and some other sports there, but we're going to hammer home on the Bears. But first, I'd like to thank our sponsor, the Rockford Ice Hogs. If you're not familiar with the Rockford Ice Hogs, they're the AHL minor league affiliate of the Chicago Blackhawks. What does that mean for you? You get to see the stars of tomorrow today at family-friendly, affordable prices. The season is in full swing, so don't miss out. Go see the action. Head on over to icehogs.com. Get yourself a hat, shirt, jersey, tickets, and more. Tell them Swerski Sports sent you. Alex, it has been a couple weeks since we've done a show, and the Bears are who we thought they were.
Yep. Yeah, it's been a few weeks. We haven't done a show since before the end of the season, and here we are. Sitting here on the couch watching all these teams doing exciting things like the Chiefs and the Titans. And here we are sitting on the couch watching that. We're watching Pat Mahomes continue to be brilliant. We're watching Deshaun Watson win a playoff game before the epic choke today, but you can't blame that all on him. And we're watching Green Bay probably make a run at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm going to start this off by, a lot of people dubbed today's play. We're recording this on a Sunday. We're dubbing today's Houston Chiefs game as the Pace Bowl, kind of mocking him. And I just think it's unfair. Sure, he could have taken either one, but there's Dan Durkin, who's a Bears writer, really disingenuous. He's one of the leaders in lambasting Ryan Pace on this. And somebody pulled up an article he wrote before the draft, and he had Deshaun Kaiser as the top quarterback in the draft, followed by Mitch Trubisky.
Mm-hmm.
So, had GM Dan Durkin been in place, we'd be in much worse shape than we are because we would have Deshaun Kaiser. It's one thing. It's one thing to be like, you know what, our guy ended up not being as good as the other two, and the other two are looking real good. It's another thing to be revisionist about it and say, hey, he's so dumb for doing this, because most draft boards, most mock drafts had Trubisky. Nobody had Mahomes' number as the top quarterback. Nobody. They had him.
No, and
third at best.
What I'm gonna say real quick is, I think Pat Mahomes is incredibly talented, and I think he would have been good no matter where he went. But I also don't think he'd be having quite this much success if he were here. Heck, I think probably knowing us, the Bears would find a way to screw him up, and Deshaun Watson. I mean, I would rather have Pat Mahomes no matter what than Mitch Trubisky. But I mean, he is playing in a system so well with Andy Reid. I mean, everything is working there. When you have a talented guy like him working with the great systems, like the great systems of Andy Reid, well, you're going to see a lot of success.
And here's the thing, is Pat Mahomes had gaudy numbers coming out of Texas Tech. But, when I looked at the tape of him, and a lot of other people did too, I was like, he looks talented, but I'm always skeptical of quarterbacks coming out of Texas Tech, because that system, it just produces quarterbacks with gaudy numbers. There's two quarterbacks that have better passing numbers at Texas Tech than Patrick Mahomes, and Patrick Mahomes had ridiculous numbers there. They're Graham Harrell and Cliff Kingsbury. Like that, and it's not like either one of those guys played that long ago. is Graham Harrell graduated in 2008, and Cliff Kingsbury graduated in 2002. So it's not like these are old records. This is just a system that produces quarterbacks with gaudy numbers. It's hard to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to project that, because that system has produced tons of gaudy quarterbacks. And honestly, the top 4 record holders in passing are all from 2005 on. It's Graham Harrell, 99 on. So Cliff Kingsbury, 99 to 2002, Graham Harrell, 2005 to 2008, Mahomes, 2014 through 16, and Seth Doge, 2009 to 2012. So it's recent. This is like a recent system that is producing these gaudy numbers. It's hard to project that. Deshaun Watson had severe, injury questions with knees, and he threw a lot of interceptions, and those are tough to, typically the old adage is, if you throw interceptions in college, you don't fix that in the pros. And so there was just questions about that. And Mitch Trubisky was a question mark, because he didn't have a lot of playing time. So there was risk in all 3 guys, and 2 of the 3 panned out very well, and the other one is still a question mark. And I'm not gonna say Mitch Trubisky is a bust, because until he plays that 4th season and gets he's on a second contract, I'm not going to consider him a bust. He's had some things he's done really well, but there's been a lot of things he doesn't do well. And I think, and it's hard to label him a bust too, when you've got a head coach that's so quick to go against the running game, so quick to go against things that you do well, and you have a poor offensive line. And that's not excusing Mitch Trubisky's play, because there's been times he's just been flat out, missed receivers and, either overthrow or just didn't see them. But he's also got those other, issues. The play calling hasn't been helpful, and the offensive line play hasn't been helpful. So you're right. Would Deshaun Watson and Pat Mahomes been good with the Bears in the same situation that Mitch Trubisky is? I think they'd be better than Mitch has been, but I don't know if we would see the same results that we're seeing in those systems.
Look at all the teams around you right now that are in the playoffs or have been in the playoffs or making runs year in, year out. You see the difference in quarterback play in a lot of them, but that's just one aspect of everything. Look at the 49ers. Look at the way their line dominates. We don't have that. Look at the way teams like the Chiefs are coached. We thought we had something like that, and while I think Nagy is still a good head coach in terms of calling plays and being an offensive mind, we don't have that. So, look, I would love Pat Mahomes on my team. I would love Deshaun Watson on my team. But the one thing I'm going to say, kind of to what your point you're trying to make, I guess, is that there's more to it than just that alone. It's the personnel you have on your squad, not only playing for you, but who's coaching you. A lot goes into this.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
The Bears have just not gotten it right.
Yeah, and I, clearly I think Deshaun Watson or Pat Mahomes, if you just plugged them into the same situation that Mahomes or that Trubisky's in, I think you'd get better results and better numbers. But I don't think it would be. You wouldn't see the gaudy results that you're seeing now on their current teams. I think there's a bit of a handicap with Trubisky. Vice versa, I think if you put Trubisky in either of those situations, I think you'd see better results from him. I think it's a little bit of Matt Nagy being stubborn. I think it's a little bit of Matt Nagy, with what he wants to do. I think it's a little bit of him giving up on the run too quickly. And I think it's a bit of the offensive line was bad. And then it's a big dose of Mitch Trubisky needs to be better. He needs to watch film better. He needs to read the defense better. He needs to understand the system better. So there's a lot of factors in this.
Of course. And look, you can go this last Bears season, you could go up and down, and you can identify those factors that worked and didn't pretty easily. It's not like there's a lot of mystery here. There really isn't. You know what works and what doesn't with this team.
Right. And, and here's the bright side, is I know a lot of people are very down on the Bears. And the Bears fans and non-Bears fans alike. Look at what Tennessee has done. They put up almost 30 points in a playoff game on the road against the team with the best record in football with a quarterback that threw 88 yards. They won a game, almost 30 points on the road, and their quarterback threw for 88 yards.
You know what these playoffs have kind of shown? Ground and pound is still a part of the game.
Absolutely. And I think honestly, you can win with Mitch Trubisky. Even playing, if he's already hit his ceiling. It's going to be, though, Matt Nagy is going to have to be a whole lot better. They're going to have to develop a running game. They're going to have to, revamp this offensive line, and they're going to have to put him in positions where he's a game manager. And that's kind of what Ryan Tannehill has been. He's been a guy that can run if a play breaks down, and he makes an occasional throw that he needs to hit, and from there they run the ball. He's not asked to do a ton, and I think Matt Nagy needs to have more of that mindset. And if Mitch Trubisky develops beyond that, then okay, maybe you can have this high-powered offense, but you need to be thinking, what if he's not as good as we had thought, and what if he's not going to be any better than he is? You can't just be like, well, we'll throw another season down the toilet. I think you need to change the focus of your offense to fit that. And if he does become better, awesome, that you're that much better. But if he's not, you're still a dangerous team because your defense is still an elite defense.
Well, yeah, I think there's something to be said about that. Again, look at the playoff teams right now. If you take a little bit of this and a little bit of that, like let's say you had a chance to fix the Bears and you just had to reach into some buckets of sand that had something that you needed, you could do it. I mean, in my opinion, from what we've seen these playoffs, seeing that ground and pound still works, seeing how important a line is to a team, I think one of the absolute top priorities, and we're not even going to get to the quarterback yet, one of the absolute top priorities is stacking up that offensive line.
Absolutely.
Top priority.
I think top priority is edge rusher, and then I'd say edge rusher, tight end, and then offensive line, because edge rusher, you had an elite defense without getting very much pressure from here outside, from the other side of Khalil Mack. Tight end has been just a nightmare.
It has.
And another thing that's you've seen from the playoffs is tight ends make these offenses go. Travis Kelce today was a matchup nightmare, and Texas had no answer for him. So I think you need to address that. And then offensive line. And then after that, I think it becomes a little bit of gravy. Because after that I list edge rusher, tight end, offensive line, and then after that I have safety because I don't think you're going to pony up for Clinton Dix. But I think Deion Bush, if push came to shove, could be okay. You could win with him. So I see that as a need, but not a necessity. And then upgrading wide receiver. I think you move on from Taylor Gabriel, and I think you need if you can upgrade at your number 2, that makes you a better team too. But I'm looking at this, their depth chart here, and I think you can do some things with what parts you have, and it's just edge rusher and tight end. I don't think you have any answers. Offensive line, we saw Charles Leno be good the year before. I think it might be the system, because here's the thing. Matt Nagy fired his offensive coordinator and his offensive line coach. And from what I'm understanding is those two were sort of in charge of the running game. And the running game was bad. Even when they tried to run, it was not very good. And so both of those guys are gone. And they already brought in a new offensive line coach. And we're still waiting to hear what we're going to do with offensive coordinator. But I think Charles Leno can get back to that, so I'm not that worried. I think James Daniels at guard, I think is solid still. Cody Whitehair, obviously solid. So it's the right side. And I think it's coaching on the left side, and you need to upgrade players on the right.
Yep.
Alex Bars is a guy that they worked hard to keep, bring him on the practice squad and keep him. I think he probably gets that right guard spot. And then for right tackle, I think you got to upgrade from Bobby Massey. If push came to shove, I think you could bring Cornelius Lucas back. But I think you need to go free agency in that department, even though there's not a ton out there.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to build through the draft, and I know you don't have a lot of draft picks, but you're going to have to do something. If you want my opinion on this offseason, I think that a lot of the fans and the media, at least some of them, will say that the biggest priority is bringing in quarterback competition. And while I do think that's important, I'm not saying it isn't. I'm just saying that I think sometimes the whole quarterback situation does overshadow that there are other aspects of this team that need to be addressed, like the ones we just talked about. You could probably agree with that, right?
Right. I mean, I think you need a better backup quarterback. You could draft somebody. You could bring in a veteran, but I don't necessarily think you have to go out and try to sign Tom Brady or Drew Brees or, even the next levels down, the Teddy Bridgewaters, the Ryan Tannehills, because I think you're, I don't think you're going to bring in a Tom Brady. I think it's, the guy's 40-something years old.
Can we talk about that real quick? Can we talk about that?
Listen, he's the greatest quarterback that's ever played, but he's really old, and you saw him slow down under a Bill Belichick system. Like, do you think he's going to step into this Bears organization and suddenly have a fountain of youth? I think you see a big step back regression with him.
He already is. He's already regressing. I mean, look, you can tell in that final playoff game, the arm strength wasn't the same. He is one of the most immobile quarterbacks out there. I mean, it probably has to do with the fact that he's 43. He was never really that mobile, but especially now, can you imagine the Bears, the current state of the Bears, with that line, with that coaching, with the corpse of Tom Brady. And here's another point I want to make. People have said to me, well, why don't you bring him as a mentor for Mitch Trubisky? Do you really think Tom effing Brady wants to come to a garbage quarterback franchise like the Chicago Bears and be a mentor for Mitch Trubisky? You think Tom Brady wants to do that? I would rather retire than do that.
No, I mean, if you're Tom Brady, like, the situation you probably want to go to is Tennessee, right?
Yeah, or maybe like Denver. Think about
Denver might actually be, but I would say the Tennessee's they're already a team that's a Super Bowl caliber team with Ryan Tannehill. Like, can you imagine that offensive line and Derrick Henry, and I think you could easily, and Mike Vrabel. So like it's somebody from the the Patriots tree. So I think that's an easy transition there. But I don't think he wants to come to the Bears, and he's definitely not coming. How do you sign Tom Brady and it's not like you're just like, oh, I'm going to sign Tom Brady and have him do this. He's a free agent. Like, he chooses where he's going. And
you're not trading for him.
Yeah. How do if you go up to Tom Brady and say, hey, Tom, you're the best quarterback that's ever played the game. Do you want to back up Mitch Trubisky and then mentor him? Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. Duh.
I didn't want my seventh finger to have a ring on it. I want to mentor Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah. So that doesn't make sense. Drew Brees is either retiring or going back to the Saints. So
yeah, right.
The Hill, the gadget guy from New Orleans, like, I've heard people toss his name around there. We don't know what he does other than be a gadget guy. Like, he's thrown some nice passes and gadget plays, but like, I think he's a terrific athlete, but do you want him to be your starting quarterback? I don't think so. Teddy Bridgewater, like, is that who you want as your quarterback? I think to say, oh, you need to bring in somebody as competition. Sure, in an ideal world, how many quarterbacks do you think there are? There's not 40 starting caliber quarterbacks in the NFL.
Maybe it's my unpopular opinion, but if we had to ride with Teddy Bridgewater for one season, I wouldn't hate it. But I get your point. It's not a very easy situation, especially since you don't have a first-round pick. I mean, that makes it all the more difficult. So, I mean, honestly, I know people aren't going to like this answer, but I don't really like it either. But I think they're just going to ride with Mitch as long as they can.
I mean, you're in a weird position with Mitch because you've either got to shit or get off the pot. And if you bail too soon and he goes to another franchise and does well, that looks worse than if he just sucked, doesn't it?
Sure.
If you're like, well, we couldn't develop him and somebody else did a great job. But you need to make sure that he's not any good. And you definitely don't want to reward him with a contract and then have him, and you be saddled with that contract if he sucks. So you've got to figure that out. And so here's your quarterbacks that are free agents. Drew Brees. And I don't think he plays for another team.
I agree.
Dak Prescott. I don't see any way that the Cowboys let him go.
And you're really going to pay a lot of money. I mean, you're going to clear up some cap space, but you're going to spend it all on Dak Prescott. That's not going to happen.
Tom Brady, no. Ryan Tannehill. I just, like, he played okay for a team with a really good offensive line and the leading rusher in the NFL. I see him as a game manager, a game manager with some wheels. And I think worst case scenarios, you could make Mitch Trubisky that same guy. So why?
I don't know.
Compare their career numbers.
Ryan Tannehill is a smarter player. That's my thing. If you have a smarter player, I think that could work better for a so-called offensive guru.
Is he a smarter player? He really sucked for a long time. He's 32 years old.
But here's the thing. That supporting cast that he had on those Dolphins teams were dog shit. They were absolute dog shit.
So
I know we disagree on this one. The idea of putting full faith in the Mitch it doesn't sit right with me.
I'm not putting full faith. I'm just realistically looking at the situation. All right.
No, I get it.
So let's say you do decide, you want to bring in Ryan Tannehill. What's the contract going to look like to bring him in?
See, I don't know. I mean, in an ideal world, I think it's worth looking at. But is it something you want to? Is it really the solution you want going forward? I don't really know. I'm not sure you do. I know what you're saying. Do you think he'd want a multi-year deal?
Ryan Tannehill?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Do you think he's going to get one?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Unless he's franchise tagged.
Right.
Which is a possibility.
Right.
But I'm thinking a number along the lines of 3 years, $66 million.
I could see it. I mean, quarterbacks are usually overpaid anyway, so.
And is that what you want to do? Because if you do that, you are essentially saying that Mitch is done. Because you have to start him. You have to start Ryan Tannehill then.
Well, I think the bigger danger is not necessarily Mitch, but looking for long-term solutions in the future.
And is a 32-year-old quarterback the long-term solution?
No, it's not. It's not.
So next is Jameis Winston.
No.
That's where I am. It's weird. So Jameis Winston led the NFL in passing yardage and interceptions.
Yeah, we don't need that.
Yeah. Phillip Rivers.
He would probably be too expensive, right?
Expensive, and he's 38 years old.
Yeah.
Teddy Bridgewater. I think it's going to be a similar situation. I think he's going to get a multi-year deal. And if Drew Brees decides he's going to retire, I have a feeling that the Saints keep him. Marcus Mariota. I think he's Mitch Trubisky.
I don't think you're making much of an upgrade there.
I think he's the same guy. Case Keenum.
He'd probably be cheap, right?
I could see Case Keenum. Case Keenum is the type of guy I think you could bring in to be competition and a veteran backup.
Yes.
He's definitely a big step up from Chase Daniel. But I think if you do that, you're going to have to you're going to have to wait a little bit, because obviously his choice is going to be to go somewhere and try to start. But if that market doesn't open up, then you could try to bring him as a backup. or at least competition. Eli Manning.
No, 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 no. And I really like Eli Manning, but he was washed up 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, so
I'm just gonna say this. If I may.
sure.
Eli Manning gets way too much hate for a guy who was the main factor to 2 Super Bowl wins. That being said, he is washeder than washed, which doesn't make any sense, but you get my point.
Here's the other remaining free agent quarterbacks. Chase Daniel, Chad Henne, Drew Stanton, Colt McCoy, Nate Sudfeld, AJ McCarron, Josh McCown, Trevor Siemian, Mike Glennon, Matt Schaub, Brett Hundley, Blaine Gabbert, Matt Moore, Joe Webb, Blake Bortles, Sean Mannion, Geno Smith, David Fales, Alex Tanney, Jeff Driscoll, Brandon Allen, Matt Sims, Nathan Perlman, Cooper Rush, Taysom Hill, Nick Mullins, Kyle Allen, and Josh Woodrum. So all these people like bring in a veteran. That it's easier said than done. I mean, honestly, of those names, I think anybody that's worth going after is going to get a multi-year deal. And that's not competition. That means you got to start them. And the only name that's a possibility is Case Keenum.
Which isn't overly exciting.
Yeah. Unless you think, what's his name? The guy that went to the Redskins.
Alex Smith?
Alex Smith.
See, here's the thing. I think Alex Smith would be a perfect fit, but I don't know how he's going to be coming back from injury.
I mean, I think he would be a good fit. I don't know. I don't know his contract status either. But I think Case Keenum is probably your answer. Unfortunately, I don't think he's that good. But he's a guy that has been a backup, has been a starter, has played well, and comes in and plays at a much higher level than Chase Daniel.
Yeah, you're right.
I want to step back for a second. At the end of the year, Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace had a press conference. And this is the first opportunity we've had to talk about that. And I was very disappointed in it. They essentially gave their version of Rex is our quarterback. And I know, at least with Ryan Pace, that you don't necessarily believe him because he said Mike Glennon is our quarterback. And they immediately made a move to draft Mitch Trubisky. So, he could be, if you really pressed him on it, be like, well, he's the only quarterback under contract. So, of course, he's our quarterback. Because that's true. The Bears don't have another quarterback under contract. But I think Mitch's feet should have been held more into the fire. And then also what bummed me out is after the press conference, they fired a bunch of coaches. They fired offensive coordinator Mark Helfrich, offensive line coach Harry Hiestand, tight end coach Kevin Gilbride, and assistant special teams coach Brock Olivo. They fired all of those after the press conference, so nobody could ask questions about that. I think that's kind of very Garpax-ish.
You know, I really try not to put too much stock in those end of the year press conferences. I don't really expect to be enlightened by anything. I don't expect them to come out and say, "Oh, we're not going to have Mitch Trubisky as our quarterback next year." I mean, they're just not going to say that. I agree with you with the coaches, the whole timing of it, very Garpax-like. That's why I didn't really pay attention to the presser, to be completely honest with you. I just thought it would be kind of pointless to base everything that was going to happen on the future off of that, and I'm sure you feel the same way. So that's why I don't even bother with that stuff.
Yeah, I was bummed that they would fire those coaches afterwards, knowing full well that there would be a lot of questions, because the big question would be, the big question would be, all right, if you fired your offensive coordinator who didn't call plays, then, is the next offensive coordinator gonna call plays, or are you going to continue to call plays? Why aren't you firing your play caller, which is you? I think it leads to a lot of questions that they didn't want to discuss.
Well, he didn't call the plays, but somebody's got to be responsible.
Yeah, I mean, if from what I'm hearing, I'm not in the, in Hallis Hall, but from what I'm understanding is Helfrich and Hiestand were supposed to head up the run game, and the run game was just abysmal this year. So if that's the case, they wanted to move on. Okay, but nobody is talked about it. And Matt Nagy is the play caller. So at what point does he get held responsible for some bad play calling? If you look, the new coaches that they've brought in to replace the fired ones, and I think they've replaced 2 of the 4 so far. So they replaced Kevin Gilbride with Clancy Barone, who's a 15-year assistant coach. So they brought in somebody with a lot of experience. And then they hired Juan Castillo to be the new offensive line coach. He's got 24 years of experience in the NFL. So they're bringing in guys that have experience. And so that, I've heard some people say maybe they promote Dave Ragone to be the new offensive coordinator, who's the quarterback's coach now. Based on these other hires, it doesn't seem that way. It seems like they're going to bring in somebody with more experience. And I heard Pat Shurmur's name bandied around, but he went to the Broncos today. I'm thinking Brad Childress might end up being the offensive coordinator.
I wouldn't mind that, frankly.
No, I think it's better than Dave Ragone. But it would be nice too to bring in somebody from the outside. I think they'll have Brad Childress anyway. But to bring another outside voice in to come in and say like, "Hey, here's what I see as an outsider."
Yeah. The whole Pat Shurmur thing was kind of annoying, but
yeah, it was annoying, and I know everybody wanted him really badly. I think he's a very fine offensive coordinator. I don't know why people were so bent out of shape, wanting to get him so bad. There's plenty of good offensive coordinators.
I don't think it was make or break.
No, and I honestly didn't think he was coming to the Bears. He was going to go somewhere that he had options. He was going to go somewhere where we can call the plays.
It was kind of one of those things where it looks really good just on paper as a coordinator, just on paper. But as much as I don't want Nagy calling plays, as much as I want to see changes, it's, again, not a make or break thing. That's all I really have on that. It's like, is he coming here? Is he not coming here? We have reports he might be, he might not be. at least that's going to be over. That's the only bright side I have to that. So
Yeah, that's over. I mean, and the other thing I wanted to mention is people are talking about, oh, the Bears don't have much cap room. They have very limited cap room, blah, blah, blah. Sort of fair, but sort of, narrow-minded too, is right now, as it stands, with Eddie Jackson's extension, which I was happy to see, rewarding your draft picks, getting him signed early before he's going to cost you more money. The Bears have about $7 million in cap space for next year. But for 2021, they have $65 million in cap space.
that's a lot of cap space.
And here's some interesting things. If you, with Kyle Long retiring, which he did, or stepping back, if you cut Prince Amukamara, who struggled this year, if you cut Bobby Massey, Trey Burton, Taylor Gabriel, Adam Shaheen, and Leonard Floyd, who I think you need to upgrade over all of them, you suddenly jump up to $39 million in cap space.
Yeah, so I mean, they have some room to work with, or at least they will if they make a few certain moves. They will have room to work with.
Right, and there's some interesting names out there that fit with what Ryan Pace has talked about, is signing a guy either in his prime or coming into his prime. Is the right tackle for Tennessee, Jack Conklin. He's 26 years old. He's available, and he's an absolute beast as a run blocker. Like, I mean, look what the holes he opened up for Derrick Henry this year.
Those were notable. Can we just magically get Derrick Henry too? Is that possible?
Would be awesome. That would be awesome. I think he's a free agent.
Is he?
I think so.
Huh. It's not going to happen, but
no.
Let me dream.
Is Leonard Williams. He's only 26 years old, and he's a free agent. If you could line him up, with Akeem Hicks on one side and Leonard Williams on the other, that makes your run defense just absolutely dominant.
Yes, it does. That makes all the difference right there. It really does.
Yeah. There's a guy who I'm terrible at pronouncing his name because there's too many consonants in a row, but Yannick Ngakoue, he's an edge rusher from Jacksonville. Very good, only 25. And Dante Fowler from the Rams, only 26. Both free agents. And Austin Hooper, the tight end from Atlanta, only 25. These are all guys that you can fit under your salary cap and would absolutely, change the outlook of what you're trying to do. Adding a legitimate tight end, adding two dominant defensive linemen. If you could add a Dante Fowler and a Leonard Williams to Akeem Hicks and Khalil Mack, you're not worrying about, not having pressure on the quarterback. It's a major step up from Leonard Floyd.
Oh, absolutely.
But, we also have two draft picks in the top 50.
Which is nice, even though we don't have the 2 first rounders, but it's nice.
But we're probably going to get a compensatory draft pick for the first time since 2009 for the Adrian Amos signing. So there we go.
Yay,
compensatory draft picks. Probably get like a 4th rounder.
Hey, in football, a 4th rounder could be something.
Eddie Jackson.
Yeah, see?
Wasn't Tariq Cohen a 4th rounder too?
He might have been. Wasn't Jordan Howard a 5th?
Jordan Howard was a 5th.
That's right.
So there you go.
There you go.
And speaking of Jordan Howard, is how we had a conditional pick when we traded him? it became a 6th rounder because he didn't play well enough. Wonk wonk.
Wasn't he hurt like half the year?
Oh, yes. Bears. It felt good to get a lot of that off my chest. But I'm going to say I think they're going to be competitive next year. They're going to be a lot more competitive than this year. I think
they'll have an easier schedule.
They'll have an easier schedule. I think, the health. The year before, their health was very, very good. It was just, the health condition was too good. They didn't really lose anybody.
It was unsustainable. There was no way they were going to sustain that 2 years in a row.
And this year, I think they got hit pretty hard with the injury bug. So I feel like it's just going to level out this year. You're going to have an easier schedule. And you really saw the bad things that happened. And, with the offense, I feel like it's going to improve. Whether, it's Matt Nagy just decides to pull the Band-Aid off and be like, I'm going to change up my playbook to fit with what we have. Or, Ryan Pace fixes the offensive line and it leads to better results. But I feel like we're going, and we were awfully darn close to making the playoffs this year with, a couple of things went right.
To me, it's one of those things where if a few things went differently, sure, they could have made the playoffs, but they showed me all season that they weren't a playoff team.
Oh, no, they're absolutely, they would have lost, the wild card round.
If they would have gone to New Orleans, they probably would have gotten their butts royally kicked.
Oh yeah, they would have still had shoe prints on their buttholes. Like that's without question. But I really feel the next year are they going to be Super Bowl contenders? I don't know, but I feel like it's going to be a big step up from what
I don't want to get my hopes up. I really don't. But I do agree that they've at least shown that they are a competitive team. There's no doubt about that. My only fear is I just don't want to be stuck in like an endless loop of like 8-8 and 9-7 seasons that don't really get you anywhere.
No, but you know what is at least this team didn't quit on Matt Nagy.
No, they didn't. And I think that's very telling.
Yeah, I think that's very telling. I just wish he would be a head coach and not an offensive coordinator that's acting as the head coach.
Mm-hmm.
Should we talk baseball?
Sure.
You want to talk Cubs or Sox?
What's there to talk about with the Cubs? I mean, seriously. There's literally nothing to talk about.
No.
They've not spent a single dime on free agents. This Chris Bryant grievance is still going on, which is just freaking stupid. They need to grow up and figure this out. I mean, come on, grow the hell up.
Why is this grievance still not, decided?
It's either they followed protocol or they didn't. It's all a way to change the CBA. And yeah, I think it is a little flawed the way it is now. And if you're going to change the CBA, it's probably a good thing. But come on, you got to get this figured out. You need to grow the hell up.
Yeah, but why hasn't the arbitrator ruled on this yet?
That's what I'd love to know.
It's ridiculous. And then just the endless rumors with Chris Bryant. Oh, first we're going to trade him. Then we're going to trade him and then trade for Nolan Arenado. Then we're going to trade for Nolan Arenado and keep Chris Bryant. Like, come on. Like,
what's going to happen.
He's going to go to the Cardinals.
Yes, exactly.
He's going to go to the Cardinals and then he's going to sign an extension. And no, he's got a bunch of years left. Never mind. He's going to go to the Cardinals, and then he's going to be a Cub killer forever.
Yes.
I'm already prepared for it. I've already got that obituary written.
Me too. It's going to happen right when the Packers win the Super Bowl.
Oh my God, that would be the worst week.
But watch. The way this year has gone, just watch.
Yeah. So the Cubs are literally doing nothing. They're not. They haven't moved any contracts to make space. You still have, there's your right fielder is still available in free agency, which I don't know why. Why isn't he signed with anybody?
Castellanos?
Yeah. There's been contract offers.
Well, yeah, they had a meeting with the Rangers, as I know that.
I wonder if Castellanos is waiting for the Cubs to make a move to see if he can come back.
That was a rumor. You remember that rumor that came up a few weeks ago?
I just feel like, why wouldn't he have signed otherwise? Because there's been a lot of movement in baseball with the free agents.
Well, I think it's one of those things where not only may he be waiting out, but I also think that him being a Boris client is that he's trying to get as much money as he can, not to mention that while I love him as a player and want him back on the Cubs, we looked at his projections. You remember, we did that show a few weeks ago, and he's probably demanding more money than he's worth.
I'm sure he is. And he's going to demand a lot of money. And the thing is he's more valuable because he doesn't have any sort of, compensation, first, draft pick compensation.
Right.
Marcell Ozuna, if you sign him, there's draft pick compensation. There is not for Castellanos. So that makes it, that's a high draft pick. Those are valuable, But yeah, other than that, the Cubs just have really stood pat, and that's frustrating because this team wasn't very good last year, and I just don't know how you go, oh yeah, we're just going to be better next year by being better. It's not how that works.
That's not how it works.
It's one thing if you say, oh yeah, our top 3 players were injured most of the season and we're going to come back healthy and be better. Okay, I understand that. But if you went, man, we didn't hit for shit and we're just going to come back and hit better, then you're like, oh, well, how is that going to work? Like, I still have all the questions I had at the end of the season. I still have, and pitchers and catchers are reporting in a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's coming up fast.
Were we like 3 weeks away?
Oh, just about, give or take.
Yeah, 4 weeks away, and I still have a whole bunch of questions, and none of them have been answered.
We've had questions since day one of the offseason. I mean, the same questions. We're asking it over and over and over again. It's like a broken record.
Yeah, not one question has been answered.
No.
Like, they've literally done nothing.
We don't even know if they're going to be having the frickin' TV network on Xfinity.
Yeah, I don't know what is... I have no idea what's happening with that channel.
It looks like right now, it looks like a complete shit show.
It's insane. It's insane how poor this offseason is going.
And we thought last year was bad. At least we made a few signings, a.k.a. Brad Brock and Daniel Descalso. Okay, I want to play a little scenario with you.
Okay.
This, to me, feels like the baseball version of retooling year where you don't make a lot of moves, you don't shift a lot of things around. You're not trying to lose, but you're also not trying to improve your team. Basically saying we're going to punt it, and basically we'll use this punt as a way to evaluate what we need to change and how we're going to change it for the long run. I mean, that's how it feels to me. Would you agree with that?
I would, but typically, like, retool is like if you do a retool where you step back a year to step forward, you have to do something. You trade somebody away, you free up some money, you do something. Like, what are they doing? Is it just like the money that they're gonna take a step back by waiting for Lester's contract to expire and Quintana's contract to expire, and then they have that money plus some TV money that they can step forward with? Is it stay under the cap of the luxury tax this year so they don't get the penalty next year?
I think that's all part of it. I also think part of it is play the season, and if you punt it and you're not in a playoff race, that gives you the opportunity mid-season to trade away assets to help restock your system. So we're talking like, okay, let's say it's during the deadline, the Cubs are out of contention, Kimbrel's back to being Kimbrel. You bet your butt they're going to try to trade him.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And look, if you don't think you're progressing with Chris Bryant either, that gets a little more interesting. I don't know if he'd be traded mid-season, but that definitely gets a little more interesting for things going forward. I know this sounds crazy, but let's say they're not doing well. I don't think this is going to happen, but let's say Lester is in much better form. He's on the last year of his deal. Teams need starters. I'm just giving out scenarios here.
Does he have a no-trade clause?
That's a good question. That I have to look at. Let me look at that real quick.
Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility, but that's a tough road to sled with a new television network. You're going to ride half the season just going, meh, we're going to see what we got and then trade away a bunch of people. I'm absolutely shocked. I mean, to me, obviously I'm not a billionaire, but to me, I would think you would go, all right, well, we've got this new television network. I want to make sure that we put the best product on the field.
Oh, I agree.
To make this work like the Dodgers did, and you go out and sign people, even if it costs you a bunch of money. You like, this team is an investment for you. Like I mean, that's just me though.
No, I totally agree. I think the timing of it isn't great, but they seem very, very stuck on this luxury tax issue. They clearly don't want to keep going over it.
I mean, that's where you're at in life. You're a big market team. If you're going to compete, then you're probably going to have to spend a lot of money.
Right, and I'm not sure all of it has to do with money. I think they also worry about draft picks, and Ricketts has expressed the concern about the farm system, but you're really going to worry a lot about the farm system when you're trying to win on the major league field, so you lose another pick. I don't really know exactly what the next tier of penalties is, and I'm not saying I agree they should be as concerned as they are, but
the Dodgers and the Yankees don't seem very concerned with it.
Well, the Dodgers do kind of, but not the Yankees. They're not very concerned at all. They never are. They never will be.
Yeah, so I mean, it's frustrating. It's one thing if they're like, we don't have a lot to work with, but we've tried to answer some of the questions. We're trying to do our best, but I feel like they've really just twiddled thumbs. If it's oh, hey, we're gonna restock our farm system this year by trading some guys, I can live with that. But they've really just stood pat and done nothing, and we're gonna go into the season with a very questionable rotation at best. I mean, very.
Talk about the Cubs rotation.
Yeah, very questionable rotation.
Yeah, I think it's right now. I see it as middle of the road.
I mean, middle of the road if you consider all teams. If you consider teams that are viable division contenders, then I would say it's questionable.
Well, yeah, I think there's. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be good. I'm just maybe I'm a little higher on the rotation than others, but I do agree it's definitely not. It's definitely not going to be tops.
And what are you doing to fix the, your poor batting, your poor offense? Like, I mean, one thing is if you can fix the defense behind you, I'm not that worried about it because, you've got the players to make the defense better. I think that's something you can fix in the off season. But as far as your hitting, and there's just a lot of questions still for this team, and I'm not optimistic on this season.
Right now, I see like an 83 win team right now.
That's fair.
I think here are the things I'm optimistic will improve just on the field, not based on moves or personnel, just based on last year, this year, and historical. I think they'll be better defensively. I don't think they can get much worse than last year. I think their base running will be a little better. And believe it or not, I'm not expecting great things from the bullpen, but I do think that you may have found a bit more of a solidified group if Brad Wick is the real deal, and if Craig Kimbrell comes back to form, and Kyle Ryan keeps doing what Kyle Ryan did last year. The back end of your bullpen, I don't think will be as bad as it was last year. I think it'd be hard to be as bad as it was last year with the particular personnel you have. But I don't expect it to be great. I just expect it to be better. I think the core itself, your core players, will be all about where they usually are. I think Kyle Schwarber is finally making some strides. But boy, oh boy, that bench is going to be brutal.
Oh, absolutely.
It's going to be awful. It's going to be really bad. Unless they make some moves, but let's see. You brought in Carlos Osuaje, who's yeah, exactly. That's all you need to say. You have Daniel Descalso, who's Daniel Descalso.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. You have Albert Almora.
Oh, I'm super excited about that.
Yeah. I mean, Caratini's good.
I like Caratini.
I like Caratini. I don't see my opinion is that Nico Horner will start the season in the minors. So I think if you would just spend a little bit of money, you know who I'd go out and get? It's going to sound kind of silly, but I know other people do agree. I think you go out and you get Scooter Gennett. You plug him in at second base to start. He's a veteran bat who's been very good, who was injured last year. And then you can kind of ease Nico Horner back into it because I just don't know if he's ready to be a full-time major leaguer.
Yeah, I mean, you worry what's going to happen to him is the same thing that happened to Happ, where looks good, and then hit a dose of reality and hasn't been able to come back from it. And that's what you worry about with him.
Right.
I'm not really excited about this season. It's
I'm neither excited or dreading. I'm just kind of numb.
Yeah, even if I can watch the games, who knows if I've got the channel.
Exactly. You know what? We'll always have Virgil Patrick Hughes, though I don't know how much longer we're going to have him.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you notice the last year or two, he's really kicked back a lot of games.
He really has.
And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if in a year or so, you're going to have a full-time guy on the road and then just have the Pat Hughes home games.
Where we get the, what the White Sox did with Hawk.
Well, wasn't that the opposite? He was road games, Benetti was home.
Oh yeah, you're right. It was
Because Hawk lived in like Indiana and it was like a long commute.
Oh yeah, he lives in like South Bend, which is a really long commute.
82 games a season to do it. Man.
But you know, what sucks is we don't have a Jason Benetti waiting in the wings.
No, we have Zach Zaidman. I just think they need to find a baseball guy.
Right. I really liked Zach Zaidman as a football guy.
Me too.
I don't like him as a baseball guy.
No, I thought Mark Rohde was a better baseball guy. Zach Zaidman was a better football guy. Why they messed with that, I don't know.
Right. And I think Mark Rohde is a terrible football guy.
Yeah, but he was
Like-
fantastic on baseball.
It's hilarious is when they're asking about Bear stuff. He's like, I don't know. I guess I don't know. It sounds like he's a caller calling in about the Bears.
Hey, how about that Tim Tebow guy? Bring him in to play tight end.
Yeah, Mark Rohde, what do you have to say about the Bears? That Trubinsky. Did you just call him Trubinsky? Yeah. What about it?
What about him? What about him?
He's great if you like puke. On the other side of town, my friend Gary texted me and said he's very happy to say that he was wrong and that he's very happy with the White Sox have done this offseason.
I told you guys.
It wasn't looking good for a while, but it's like that Grandal signing kind of opened the floodgates. And now I think they're an elite team? No, not yet. They've got to get a lot of seasoning under some young players. But can they win this division? I think so.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
The Tigers
Yeah.
are bad.
Yep.
The Tigers are bad. Who knows what the Indians are doing?
They're not going to be good.
Especially if they trade Lindor. Like,
Yeah,
that would be bad.
Regardless if they do or not, I don't think they're going to be division winners.
The Royals.
Ugh.
And I think the Twins aren't.
They're going to
real.
regress hard time.
Oh, they're going to regress hard.
I think this is their division to take right now.
Yeah, so I think the White Sox, this is a time when you could absolutely step up and take advantage of having a weak division. And I think that's important.
The next
Because-
year or two is going to be your easiest opportunity too.
Yeah, the Major League Baseball is really tough to win in the postseason. To win a World Series. I think it's the toughest of any of the major sports championships.
Yeah, I mean, all those
Because-
games you have to play.
Because in basketball, it really is who has the best stars wins.
Yep.
All the other sports kind of translate for the most part into whoever's the best team wins. In baseball, it's you can build your team to be very good for a season. Like that's something you can do, and then after that, it's a total crapshoot. Once the playoffs start, it's just a crapshoot.
Well, baseball is such a fluky game too. You know, a lot of weird things can happen.
It's streaky because it's when you have a guy that hits 300, it's not like, oh, he hits 300 every day, every game he hits, every week he has 30% of the at bats he has a hit. It's 1 week he's batting 500, 1 week he's batting 180. And if that series you're in the batting 500 phase, then you win. It's very cyclical and very it's fluky. You're right. It's very fluky. It's very hard. So the point of that is the best odds you have to win a World Series is to get to the playoffs as many times as possible.
Exactly. Take as advantage of much of it as you can.
Yeah. So you've got a weak division. Why let some buster team just walk away with it? Compete. And I think that was really important. And so they've made moves. The Encarnacion signing.
They
I think
was words.
Yeah, the words. Edwin Encarnacion. Words. Why can't I say his
Edwin
name?
Encarnacion. I said
Yes.
it for you.
I'm just gonna call him Double E. You signed Double E. I think that's a nice veteran bat. And I don't think you have to rely on him that much.
No.
Because you've got other guys. Like, I think you can use James McCann in there when he's not catching. You can put him in there. You can have Jose Abreu do some DHing. You've got options there. Whereas previously you didn't. You've got options there to step up and if somebody's really struggling or somebody's injured, you're not stuck with that. You're not stuck, with a bad bat in the lineup. You brought in Nomar Mazara, and I'm not in love with that pick. I think he's still a platoon guy. But he's definitely a improvement in right field over what you had.
If he's the weakest link in your lineup, then I think that says a lot about how the rest of the lineup is all that much better.
I mean, the thing with him is this is where I think he can benefit. He was the heart of the order guy last year, and he put up okay numbers. But for the White Sox, he's probably going to be a bottom of the order guy.
Right.
He's, that's a lot less pressure for him, and we'll see how he responds to it. But I don't think it's a bad signing or a bad trade. I just still think he's a platoon guy. You signed the extension for Luis Robert, so that sort of takes away the question of are you going to keep him down in the minors? You're going to bring him up. And didn't they re-sign Lurie Garcia?
Did they?
I thought they did.
I've been paying much more attention to their free agent moves. I really haven't been paying attention to Lurie Garcia. Just putting it out there.
And they signed Dallas Keuchel, who was a guy that we thought they should have signed when he was a free agent last season. I think their rotation is pretty solid. You've got Lucas Giolito and Dallas Keuchel, a guy who had a career year last year and a former Cy Young is your top two. You've got Reynaldo Lopez. You've got Dylan Cease, Michael Kopech's coming back. Gio Gonzalez. I think you've got a rotation that's set, and then you've got some guys that are coming back from injury at certain points that can bolster you later on. So I think they have not a star-studded rotation, but I think it's a solid one.
Yeah, I think that there's potential there. It'd be probably one of my bigger concerns, but it can still work out fine. Even if it's not great, I think it could be good enough at least.
Right. I just think I think you've got a team that's young, but you're going to watch them grow. You're going to have growing pains. You're definitely going to have growing pains, but I think you're going to see a team that's growing and you're going to see some good things. And I think this is the right year to have done it. Because if you can make the playoffs this year, even if it's a weak division, man, having the playoff experience with this young core is just priceless.
Just like the Cubs in 2015.
Absolutely.
There's never no reason not to make the playoffs in baseball.
Yeah, make the playoffs, get your toe wet, even if it ends abysmally like the 2015 Cubs, where you just, the Mets bamboozled you.
Bamboozled?
Bamboozled. Get that experience. Dip your toe in there. You taste what winning is like, and you like the taste of it, and you come back for more.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a Cubs fan, and as you are, but I'm really proud of what the White Sox have done, and congratulations to White Sox fans. You've got a real nice team there, and I'm excited to have winning baseball in the city again.
Yeah. I mean, you're gonna have a fun team to watch. There's no doubt about that, and just enjoy every minute of the ride. That's what I say. All the moves, those are fun. Just enjoy it.
Yeah, it is enjoy the ascent, because we enjoyed it a few years ago, and now we're impatiently waiting for them to figure out if they're gonna close this window or stretch it open a little bit longer.
Or have the window open a crack where it's not enough to get through the window, but you could kind of feel the breeze through the window, which gives you some smell of fresh air outside, but you still can't get to it. It's basically how I describe the Cubs right now.
Do you want to talk Bulls and Blackhawks at all?
I guess I'll say a few things. I just have a few thoughts on both. The Blackhawks are really annoying because they'll win a few games in a row and kind of get you into that, well, if we can hang around mentality, and then they lose a few terrible games in a row, including giving up a goal to the opposing goaltender, and that pretty much squashes those dreams. And the Bulls would have like maybe 3 wins if they never played the Pistons or Hawks or Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah, the Blackhawks are bad.
But they're not terrible.
What's funny is, like, they're in last place, but there's a lot of good teams. Like, they just,
yeah, there are.
But it's still, they're not the Red Wings, but it's frustrating, and they've had such good goaltending, and both of your goalies are free agents at the end of the year, and you've got some young players that, that are some that are stepping up and some that are not, and the defense still stinks. And I don't know what to do with this team. And, I feel like you're probably going to see a general manager change at the end of the year.
I got to say, Kubalik is fun to watch.
Oh my God. He is just a scoring machine lately.
He is, and I think he's either tied or leading rookies in goals or points or whatever. I know Pat Foley said something like that the other night.
Yeah, so he's been playing great, and he's fun. You're right, he is fun to watch.
He's got a really nice shot, and he does everything very smoothly. He kind of looks like that kid that's been around a few years, like he has the experience. He looks like an experienced player out there. He almost got a hat trick the other night. He missed an empty net by a few inches. But hey, valiant effort by him. He still scored 2 goals. What I wanted to talk to you about too about the Hawks was, I don't know if you saw on Twitter, last week I was at the Blackhawks Red Wings game at the United Center. And that Red Wings team it's just unbelievably dreadful. I never thought I'd see the day. But in that game, it was all the young kids who stepped up. And you finally saw the first career goal of the one kid. Why am I blanking on his name?
Dylan Sakura?
Sakura, yes, thank you. I was going to say Strome, but I'm like, no, not Strome, Sakura. Sakura scored his first career goal in the second period to tie the game. It was just nice to see the kids getting the work done, because you have important guys out. Brandon Saad, that's a big loss for you. Brett Seabrook, even though he's not playing as well, that's a big loss for you. We had Boakfist score a goal in that game. That was nice to see. So you see the promise with some of these kids. You got to see things mesh together. Like, I don't think Sakura is going to be in the NHL much of a big factor in the NHL, at least not with the Hawks. But, I mean, it was nice to see him score a goal. And I think that maybe if Dominic Kubalik keeps this going, he could be like the Rookie of the Year, like the Calder winner. I think he's got to at least be in that conversation.
Oh, I think his scoring has put him in that conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so but it's pretty evident that the Blackhawks are at a weird crossroad of, they could either just plummet down and be the Red Wings, or, I think if you play your cards right with the money that you have and the players that you have, that you could rebound next year. And the question is, do you do it with this GM?
I think they should move on. Absolutely. I don't have real confidence that they are, though. Can I ask you something honestly?
Yeah.
And this is going to also go off of the game I attended against the Red Wings. You wouldn't know the record of those two teams at the United Center. The place was loud. The place was packed. Outside a few scattered empty seats at the United Center, the games are still selling out and they're still full, right? I mean, you've noticed.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you think that that's going to hurt their urgency to make changes if they're still selling out games?
No.
You don't think so?
Because Rocky Wirtz likes to win.
Yes,
he wants to win. It's a much different motivation than the Reinsdorfs.
Or his father.
Yeah. Old man Wirtz, it would have probably hindered, but Rocky wants to win. I think you're going to see everything he's done. I mean, honestly, there's definitely things that he wants to make money, but he has changed the culture to make this a winning environment. And I don't think that they're still selling out and not being a good team is going to change his perspective. He's going to look at the record and be like, we were not good enough. We need to be better.
Okay, that's fair.
There's some teams that are fine with, they just want to make the money. And I feel like those types of owners are slowly going away.
Sure.
Because the cost of these franchises, you need to win to make the money. Whereas if you bought them a long time ago when they were cheap, or you were original owners, then you can rest on your laurels because, well, I don't have a payment for this team. It's free money at this point. But if you're some billionaire that bought the team, you're like, well, I need to turn this around. I need to make sure we're winning. And honestly, my ego is I don't like losing. So a lot of those things go into it. I think Rocky is very proud of this franchise and he's very proud of those Stanley Cups. I think he wants more. I think he loved making this team the toast of the town for those couple of years.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And I think I do agree with you. I think he saw the dangers of what happens when you worry more about money than winning, obviously. So yeah, that's completely fair. And it would be something I think people would naturally fear who've been watching the Hawks for a while, but I do agree with you.
Yeah. And also, to make a lot of money, you need to win, is because when you're winning, look at the television ratings, look at the merchandise sales. They were making a killing when they were winning. Now that they're not winning, you see a lot less people, with new Blackhawks merchandise. The TV viewership has definitely gone down. When making money is important, but I know he wants to win, but he's going to also look at it as the bottom line and saying, hey, this is not sustainable, us not winning and keeping the seats full, because the viewership of hockey is not what it is in the NFL.
No, not even close. Not
or
even
Major League
close.
Baseball. So, we've to keep butts in the seats, we gotta put together a winning record here. We can sustain a couple of losing years, but at some point we're gonna start losing butts in the seats. So it's like a double whammy. I think they know how it's not the NBA where you're going to make a ton of money through television rights, regardless of if anybody comes to your games or not. Hockey's a little bit less like that. So it's that box office is important. So it's a case of you've got to win to make money, and he also wants to win because this franchise is his pride and joy.
Right.
So I don't think I'm not as down on Stan Bowman as a lot of other people, but I think he's had his opportunities, and I think the coach that he brought in is in over his head.
The game has passed him by. I think it's time to adopt.
I think it's time to move on to a new general manager and go from there.
Yep. Yeah, full agreement.
And I'm also bummed because Kubelik is on a 1-year deal. the Blackhawks are got to pony up to get him to come back.
Yep.
And then I guess Bulls will wrap this up a little bit. I don't know what the hell this team's doing. They're hot garbage.
Yeah, I got nothing to say about them. I really don't.
Denzel Valentine doesn't get playing time. I don't understand the rotation of this team. Like, who gets time, who doesn't. It just doesn't seem to make sense. The coach, I don't know what the hell he's doing. I honest to God, have no idea what Boylan is doing. I don't know if Boylan knows what Boylan is doing. Is this team, is he a shill? Like, is Garpax, is he just doing their bidding? I don't understand exactly what's happening. And, you're not seeing the progression of players. Your injuries, are banging you up here. Wendell Carter Jr. and, my God, why am I blanking on his name? Your highest paid player.
Laurie?
Otto Porter.
Otto Porter.
Is, he's still out. Like, I don't know what.
I forget he's even still on the team.
I think my favorite tweet is somebody saw him at a club, and he said, "Too hurt to play, but not too hurt to pick up fives at the club."
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel bad. Like, our buddy Big Dave, that's what he does for a living, is he talks Bulls, and that's a tough talk, man. This is a once proud franchise that's just looking like hot garbage.
Yep.
I mean, even if you like puke, I don't even think this flavor of puke is a very good flavor.
No, nobody should like this puke.
This is not gourmet puke.
Is there such thing as gourmet puke?
I don't know. Maybe if you had like sprinkled donuts before you puked.
Ew. All right. Okay. Well, that's okay. That's disgusting.
I just gave you nightmares.
Gourmet puke.
Alex is gonna wake up now going, no sprinkle puke, no sprinkle puke.
Gnarly.
Man. Man, the Seahawks climb back into this, and then they're just gonna blow this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm not even getting my hopes up.
Yeah, now they're gonna punt with 3 minutes left. This game is over.
Yep.
Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Nope.
All right. Well, I guess that's going to do it for this episode of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. I want to thank everybody so much for listening. Make sure you hit subscribe however you listen to podcasts, whether that's iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, TuneIn app, Google Play, Spotify. Also, make sure to follow us on social media at ShyFanPat1, at Swerski Sports, Facebook.com/Swerski Sports, SwerskiSports.com. And again, thank you guys so much for listening. And until next time, bear down.
Cubs win! What a lucky break! The good Lord wants the Cubs to win!
We thank Ditka and God for all they have provided.
Cubs win! Cubs win! Cubs win!
Oh, I don't want her. You can have her. She's a Packer fan. She can't fit in my van.
And she looks like... Remember, New Yorkers, smoking crack is not legal on planes.
Bears 31 to -7.
The Bears!
Oh, when the Bears go bearing down